I'm City and State Albany Bureau Chief John Lenz. I'm joined by Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. at the New York State Democratic Convention. And you introduced State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli. He was nominated for re-election. Why do you think he's a great candidate?
Well, because if you know Tom, and I certainly do, I served with him in the New York State Assembly, you know that personally he's a great guy, a man with a big heart, someone who really cares. When we were up there, he not only cared about his district here in Long Island, but he cared about what happened in the Bronx and my area, the area I represented in Soundview, and he cared about the entire state of New York. As the comptroller, what he's proven is that don't let that soft personality fool you. He's been really tough on the issues. He's made the tough calls. That's the reason why our pension system is the largest that it's been for so many years. That's the reason why he's been able to root out corruption. That's the reason why he's been able to save the state and taxpayers' savings so that we can invest in other areas like education, like transportation, like housing. And you know, it's just, for me, it was an honor to be able to do that. I mean, it's rare that you'd find someone who is right on the issues, who has so much influence, and is also just a genuinely good guy. And so I wish him the best, and I'm so happy that as New York Democrats, we're all united in supporting Tom DiNapoli.
Sure. And you mentioned public corruption. That's been a big issue this session up in Albany. There was one ethics package that included public financing only for the comptroller race. However, DiNapoli said he's not going to opt into that. He had some issues with it. Do you feel like Albany's doing enough to address corruption? Should there be a comprehensive public financing system in New York?
Well, that's something that I'm going to leave up to the elected officials up there. They certainly been debating this for quite some time. One can question why this was only pertaining to the state comptroller's race. I think whether they reach an agreement on public financing or not, if they do, it should be across the board and it should be done for everyone. We should not single out any one position. Nonetheless, I think that when you look at what Eric Schneiderman has been able to accomplish and looking at some of the people that used to serve in Albany and how they're being dealt with, when you look at what Tom DiNapoli is doing to save and to show where there's been waste and misspending and irregularities and do it in such a transparent way. And certainly the governor has been no slouch in addressing corruption and trying to push for public financing. I think that in the near future they'll settle that, but it should be done across the board.
Sure. And you just had Bronx Week celebrating your borough. What were the highlights of that? How is your borough doing? Is it on the upswing? It's often one of the places with higher levels of unemployment. How are things going in the Bronx?
The Bronx is headed in the right direction, and we had so much to celebrate. We call it Bronx Week. It was really 11 days of festivities and also substantive conversation. I mean, we had everything from a party with our senior citizens and our centenarians. I danced merengue with a young lady of 106 years of age. We had our veterans breakfast. We had our youth and family day. But we also had our bankers breakfast, where we spoke to major bankers about investing in our borough. We've seen a private investment of over $6 billion since I've been the borough president. We've seen an increase of 14,000 jobs. So life isn't perfect, but we are moving in the right direction. And we are grateful to individuals like Governor Cuomo for helping us in those endeavors. I mean, he's invested in the new infrastructure for the Hunts Point Produce Market, which is the single produce market in the Western Hemisphere, if not the world. He's helped us with Fresh Direct, which needs to be relocated. Instead of leaving us and going to New Jersey, instead of leaving Long Island City, they're coming to the Bronx. He's helping us with the financing of the 4 Metro North stations in the eastern side of the Bronx. And we know what that's meant historically for different towns and villages and municipalities. When you put rail, when you put stations, it's transformative. So we are thankful to him for that. And stay tuned, because there's so much coming down the pipeline. We've seen $700 million in housing, all kind of housing, in the last 4.5 years alone. Last year, 2013, was the safest year in the Bronx since 1963. We've seen over $300 million in financing to our public parks in the last 5 years. So now we have plans to redevelop the waterfront from 149th Street to 138th Street. Certainly we've been upzoning certain areas. And we're so fortunate and lucky to have the leadership statewide, having a friend in Mayor de Blasio to help us in those endeavors.
Borough President, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I look forward to having New Yorkers come out and vote the Democratic ticket. And because this state really doesn't have room for individuals who are so divisive, individuals who want to tear us apart, individuals who, quite frankly, are Bobby-come-latelys.